Hi, Sebastian. Thank you very much for being early. Good to see you. Let's wait for a couple of more minutes so that your classmates also join us, please, to start. And we are going to begin with the practices, okay?
Okay, teacher.
Thank you very much, Sebastian.
My sister won't be able to be here because she has an essay. She has to dance, so she's unable to be in the class.
Okay. Apparently nobody else is joining, but it's fine, Sebastian. Let's just practice together. Um, they are going to be rewatching the class later, so it's completely fine. Okay, wonderful. So you're going to have a lot of practice today then. And I have prepared a lot of material for us to practice, so please be ready, okay? I'm going to get into the simulator. In a second, let's get closing all these things. And now let's go. Where's it? Yeah, there you are. Okay, so as I told you yesterday, dear Sebastian, we are going to be practicing for the third task of the speaking section, and that is going to imply that we're going to have to read academic articles and also to listen to lectures delivered by professors on academic topics as well. So I want you to please be ready to listen to these talks and lectures on academic subjects and also to, of course, be able to respond, okay? So please make sure that your microphone is prepared and we're going to be practicing a lot together, right? Let's go. Okay, so the first one is going to be about hypnotherapy. Okay, we saw it yesterday, but we didn't practice with it. Okay, so it's going to be fun. I'm gonna send it to the chat box for you to read it better. Okay, Sebastian, and I am going to give you 4 or 5 seconds in order to read this, because remind that it's exactly the same time you're going to have on the exam. Okay, so I want to make sure that you have practice that is going to be super identical to the one of the actual exam. Okay, so please start reading your academic passage now.
Sorry, teacher, I'm searching for my pen, but I can't find
Oh
it.
yeah.
Can
Oh
you
no,
make
no,
me
don't
a
worry. Yeah, of course. Please tell me when you're ready and we are going to start, okay?
Okay, I have one.
Okay, wonderful. So you're able to see the reading passage, right?
Yes, I'm reading.
Wonderful. So please start reading now. Okay, there you are. So now please let us listen together to the lecture on hypnotherapy. Let's go.
Now listen to part of a lecture from a psychology class.
Hypnosis is controversial for several reasons. First, not everyone can actually be hypnotized. I mean to say, only certain types of people are able to fall completely under the power of a hypnotist's suggestions. But at the same time, a lot of patients are eager to please their therapists. So for this reason, patients might be likely to pretend to be hypnotized, when in reality, they're wildly improvising. That means hypnotherapy leads to false positives, times when patients exaggerate the effects. People make up memories, totally false information that they otherwise wouldn't have said, just so in order to make it seem like the hypnotism is working. And it gets worse. Sometimes hypnosis might create false psychological problems. For example, these days, a lot of people question whether split personality disorder, or as it's actually called, dissociative identity disorder, whether this disease, in which people have multiple personalities, it's questioned whether this is a disease that is found in nature or whether psychiatrists themselves basically created the disorder. It's thought that when psychiatrists question patients suffering from trauma and used hypnosis, they sometimes bombarded them with leading questions. Then these questions basically implanted the idea of split personalities where it didn't even exist before. No one stopped to think that the hypnosis might only reinforce made-up behavior by giving patients an excuse, a scapegoat. Many times, for example, people claim to have been suffering from dissociative identity disorder to avoid being held liable in court for crimes allegedly committed by their other personalities.
Using the points and examples given in the lecture, explain why hypnotherapy has proven to be a controversial form of treatment.
Okay, there you are. Wonderful, Sebastian. So please now enjoy of 30 seconds of preparation for your response, and then we're going to be delivering it, okay? So please start preparing it now. Okay, your time is over, dear Sebastian. So now please start delivering your response now.
Regarding to the topic, to the passage, the topic was about hypnotherapy and the use, and this was a practical use in clinical psychiatric, and it has fallen out of favor because of the patients that that were in a dreamlike state and used to follow orders. But here in the teacher, we can say that these patients are eager to please the doctor that is interviewing them, and also they made an improvisation about their fault, about their about their allegedly memories, and so fake data was given, and this leads to fake diseases and also makes it. That's why it.
Okay. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you very much, Sebastian. It was very good. Okay. So, for example, by the way, I just wanted to preface by saying very good. Okay, it was a very good response. Just few recommendations, few observations. Okay. For example, the word data, when you pronounce it, that is a word that when I was, because I am a student in system engineering, right? I also pronounce it as data, but I came across the information that it is actually data. When you pronounce it, it's data. So for example, when you want to say that, right? The data that they were proposing was not correct. Although you write it as data, you pronounce it like data with an R, actually, data, like that, right? Data. Look at your chat box. So, but yeah, that is the only word that I think maybe can be improved with regard to pronunciation, but with regard to the rest, it was wonderful. The structure as well, as I told you yesterday, it's not necessary to repeat, of course, the same words that I am proposing here in the template, but just for you to rewatch it again, let me show you the presentation or the slide, just this specific slide, because I think it's important to remind the structure. So the first thing you do is to summarize, right? The reading passage. You say, in the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of. As I say, please feel free to change the wording of this phrase as you prefer and as you consider to be more effective. But this is an idea, right? So after you mention this phrase, you say, right, the summary of the reading passage that you have created, super general, right? Super concise. And then you use a transition phrase, something like likewise in the listening passage, and then you start to offer your summary of the conversation, in this case, lecture that the professor delivered about, in this case, hypnosis, right, or hypnotherapy. So that is the structure. But as I said, I think that your response was also accurate because you did summarize the reading passage, and also you did summarize the listening item. Okay, wonderful, very good. Okay, Paola has also gotten into, and that is very good. So we're going to be able to practice with more students now. Okay, but thank you, Sebastian. It was a very good response. All right, good evening, Paola. We are practicing with Sebastian right now, the third task of the speaking section, as we talked about yesterday. and we just have gone through our first example, so you have not really missed very much. Okay, so let's go and let's continue. Please, Paola, make sure to have your notebook, make sure to have a pencil and something to write on, because we're going to be, as we practiced yesterday as well, reading and listening to academic English. So notes are going to be super, super important and crucial. Okay, let's go. Second practice. Okay, next. Here you have cultural impacts of climate change. This is going to be our new reading passage. In this case, I guess this is a subject of geography or environmental engineering. I don't know. But the point is that it is something that a university could teach. Remind that is the way to identify what could be part of this exam. All right, so please enjoy this or serve yourself of this 45 seconds in order to read, okay? Start reading now. Okay, there you are. Now, please let us listen together to the lecture on the same topic.
Now listen to part of a lecture from a class on ancient history.
Climate change hasn't always been seen as such a major factor on how we've progressed, how culture has developed, but more and more we're finding that it does play a major role. Let's take the example of Egypt. The country today is harshly divided between the Sahara Desert, where basically nothing grows, and the area around the Nile River Valley, which is still one of the most fertile places on the whole planet. But the thing is, we're now discovering that the landscape of Egypt was not always divided in that way. Instead, until the 4th millennium BCE, the desert of Egypt was actually a rich, prosperous area of fields and farmable meadows. There were societies living away from the Nile, successfully farming or getting by in a place that would later be completely uninhabitable. But then, of course, the climate changed and the Sahara Desert formed. That meant people were forced to move to the Nile Valley to survive, because there were no more fields to cultivate or animals to hunt. So right, you can imagine their culture had to adapt as they moved to a new area, a new climate. But it doesn't stop there. The Nile Valley was already settled. So these newcomers fleeing the desert, they evidently fought the people already living in the valley. And we see that from the construction of these giant defensive walls for the first time in history. So right, people joined together behind these walls and formed cities to protect themselves. This was a large interaction between communities, deeply affecting the local culture. The changing landscape was at the heart of that change.
Explain how the lecturer's claims give a concrete example of climate change's effect on culture.
Okay, there we are. So now please remind that you're going to have 30 seconds of preparation. So please start preparing your response for this question now. Okay, wonderful. This is awesome, dear students. Okay, so now please let us go to the responses. In this case, Sebastian, you're going to start again. And later, Paula is going to follow, okay? As you remind, is our mechanism. So please start responding to the questions, Sebastian, now.
In the reading passage, we can see how the climate change has affected the cultures of the throughout the history of civilization, and also it's greatly responsible for some of the biggest revolutions in the culture. So so we can hear from teachers that history was consistently changed with these changes, and it also, for example, takes an example of Egypt that was reached in one date, and for the next and throughout the next millennium, digo, siglos, como era, throughout the centuries, became their area of habitat became
Okay, thank you very much, Sebastian. It's fine. Paola, please start responding to the question now.
In the reading passage, we've been immersed into the topic of climate change, and this is has changed because the world has changed. Likewise, in the listening passage, we talk about the civilization, and I don't know. I don't remember this part, teacher. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine, Paula. Don't worry. Thank you very much. All right, wonderful. Okay, so let's get into some feedback. Okay, so for Sebastian, for example, I think I continue believing that the response is good because you do summarize the reading passage, you do summarize as well the listening item, and I think that you do it very well. What I would recommend you, I think, well, at least from what I can hear, of course, you can correct me, Sebastian, maybe what is lacking to you is a little bit more of organization. What do I mean by that? Maybe you are responding, or at least is what I perceive, as the response or as the information comes to your mind. But remind that the reason why I recommended you to use an structure is because I want you to, or I want you to refrain yourself from not knowing what to say, right? So if you follow a structure already defined, not changing expressions and well, basically improvising your response, that is going to help you to have a lot of security. That's the reason why I always recommend you this structure, okay? So I think that could certainly help your response, because what I perceive is that your response is improvised, and although it doesn't make it bad, or it doesn't make it irrational, or doesn't make it inefficient or ineffective, excuse me, I would say that you can be more efficient. That is to say that you can take advantage of your minutes and of your capacities, which are of course very high, by organizing a little bit more. Try to always write down the structure, what you are going to say at every single point, and that is going to, I think, give you a way more clearness while responding, so that you are not going to be hesitating and to what point to speak about that, and then to continue, or what phrase to say, for example, right? So that would be my only recommendation for you. Try to follow on a structure. As I told you, not necessary to use these words here or these phrases, but the structure is very clear when you follow it. So try to make up a structure for you, and always repeat those phrases, okay? Make them up for you. Try to invent by yourself some phrases and use them, okay? Constantly, because remind, what is beautiful about this exam, what I think it's what makes it valuable, is that it is predictable, right? Many things just follow patterns. And if we repeat that is to say, if we are repetitive in our responses while practicing, that is going to make us perform very well in the exam, because that is what we want, right? To perform well here, but also as well in the exam. So remind that in the exam, you're going to have a lot of nerves, and maybe improvising is not going to be the best idea because the anxiety and, and the pressure. So if you have a structure well-defined, super well-defined, always repeating the same here, the same here, the same here, that is going to relieve a lot of pressure on you. All right. So that would be my recommendation. Try to follow on the structure, to be organized, to know what you're going to say next and next and next and next. Okay. Very good. Paola, as well, very good. I think that, for example, you didn't remember because you didn't take notes, probably. I suppose that the listening part you didn't take notes. And well, but remind that the notes of this for this particular section are super important, because as you said, it's difficult sometimes to remind everything, right? So remind the notes. I think that there are a lot of videos on our YouTube channel. Go there, and if you want, rewatch those classes in the listening part, especially in which we have already seen how to take notes, how to do it efficiently. Maybe that is going to help you a lot in order to remind how to take notes, and remind that it's super, I would say it's indispensable to take notes in this section, because as you said, it's difficult to remind everything. And the second thing would be try to avoid always the expression when you are thinking, right? As I told you, I know it comes naturally, because of course it's something that we have gotten used to, but nonetheless, when you are thinking about what to say, preferable to stay silent for a while, actually thinking what you want to pronounce, and then continue, right? But instead of saying, that is that makes it sound a little bit confusing and insecure. Okay, so of course you don't want to express that to the reviewer. All right, but very good responses, dear students. I think that you are in a very good way. So let's continue. I think that practice, of course, is going to make you or turn you into masters of this exam. Right? Let's continue. Next. Okay, principal negotiation. Very interesting topic for those of you as well who enjoy economics as I do, but nonetheless, there you have. So please start yourself for this 45 seconds to read. Okay, start reading now. Okay, there we are. Now please start listening with me to lecture on the same topic.
Now, listen to a lecture on this topic in a business class.
You can see the effects of principled negotiation right at this university, actually. We have, a private company running our cafeteria, right? The university pays the company to buy food, hire employees, and serve meals to the students. When they drafted the contract outlining their expectations, the university and the food service company had to think about their future together and how they could keep students happy. Only if the students were satisfied would the relationship be able to continue smoothly. That was the common goal. So, at the company's request, the university agreed to fund training the cafeteria workers, precisely because they saw that training as being in the best interest of the students, even if the direct benefit was for the food service employees, and it was coming out of the university's pocket. And at the same time, the food service provider agreed to buy and serve only organic foods, ingredients that cost more but are healthier for student diners. If the food service had refused to buy those higher quality ingredients, it's more likely that students would have passed on meal plans, or worse, requested the university find a different service. Obviously, the company'd want to avoid that. In the long run, these kinds of decisions were in line with everybody's goals, especially you, the students.
Using the example of the university cafeteria, Explain what is meant by principled negotiation.
Okay, fantastic. So now please start preparing your response. Okay, let's go. Okay, magnificent. There we are. Paula, you're going to start this round, okay? So please, I want you to turn on your microphone and please start responding the question now.
In the reading passage, we've been immersing into the topic of business like a game. Business negotiation, it can be like a game, win and lose. So all the person have a objective in common. In the listening passage, we talk about the university cafeteria. It's like a model negotiation of variety food. It's a system negotiation. So we have two examples like different foods that the students prefers.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, dear Paula. Okay, Sebastian, is going to be your turn now. You're going to be the second. So please have your microphone set up and start delivering your response for this question now.
In the listening passage, we can see how we are immersing how business is a project. For example, it can be taken as a win-lose scenario, like a sport, but there is also another way to see it as a common goal, as a team based with a common goal approach. For example, in the listening passage, we can see that we got a negotiation between the university cafeteria and the students, where they convey to have a smoothly negotiation and they see that both of the parties have a common goal to share. So it was better like this.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Sebastian. Okay, Paula. So I think that the response was very solid in this case. I perceived a lot of organization on it. I think that your times were also well measured. I think you spent the correct time on the reading passage and then you move on to the listening item. That is very good. Okay, continue with that. My only two observations would be in pronunciation. For example, when you say negotiation, remind that you don't have to skip the part she, but you say negotiation, right? Not negotiation, but negotiation. You also take it that way. Let me write it down for you. Go negotiation. Okay, this is going to be a little bit funny, but the pronunciation is like that. Okay, please look at your chat box. Negotiation. Okay, negotiation like that. But very good. And finally, cafeteria. When you, for example, pronounce this word, it's cafeteria. Okay, cafeteria with I, cafeteria. But very good. Okay, very, very good. As I say, the response is very well, Paula. I think that you are going to improve way more, even way more, as we continue practicing. And for Sebastian, in this case, Sebastian, I want to congratulate you. I felt that your response was way more structured. In this case, I think that you were not improvising, that you knew what to say, that you outlined more or less at what point you were to stop. talking about the reading passage and then to continue. So very good there. And I think that you also notice, right? You feel more comfortable responding because you know what to say. So very good. Okay, keep it out that way. It's going to help you a lot. Trust me, because the first time I took the exam, I rejected the idea of having something prepared. I always wanted to demonstrate my capacity and to improvise my response. But I ended up knowing that it is way more convenient to have always something prepared, because that helps you and serves as a relief of all the pressure and anxiety you're going to experience on that day. Okay, but very good. Congratulations. Wonderful. Let's continue. You have more. Okay. Here you have the new one. This is going to be about what topic? Let's see. Pictographs. Okay. I guess this could be part of a history or story, history or art class. So let's see what it is about. Okay. Let's go. And there you have. So please have your 45 seconds to read now. There we are. So now please, your students, start listening with me to the lecture on pictographs.
Now listen to a lecture in an art history class.
You might be surprised at how close the link between those ancient symbols and our current writing systems actually is. Let me show you some really neat examples from the Roman alphabet to illustrate. Take the letter A. It looks kind of like a triangle with two sticks underneath it, right? Well, those sticks used to actually be horns on a drawing of a bull. A started out as an ancient Egyptian pictograph of a bull's head. This naturally stood for the word bull or a similar creature, but over generations, the eyes and other details on the bull's head disappeared, until the head just looked like a triangle, and the horns just looked like sticks. Voila. The next example is a bit more distorted, but the letter E has a very similar story. This one started out as a stick figure, an image of a person praying. A line down the middle represented the legs, body, and head, and then two arms extended out on either side. But over time, the symbol was rotated. A rotation like that is pretty common historically, and a part of the image was lost. Now, the three horizontal strokes of the E, those are what's left of the two arms and the head of that person in prayer.
Using examples from the talk, explain how pictographs changed to become modern writing.
There you are. Okay. So please now, dear students, let us start preparing our responses for this round. Okay. Let us go now. Sorry, guys, I don't know what it took me out. I think that I moved my computer and it took me out. I disconnected my charger and it took me out. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, so we were about to respond, right? So what is the idea? In this case, who's going to start? Let me see. Sebastian, you're going to start, okay? So please have your microphone set up for the response and start delivering it now.
In the reading passage, we have immersed in the topic of history of pictography that was developed in areas like Mesopotamia, Egypt, and other parts in the world, and how these become our reading system or language. So, for example, in the listening passage, we can see how they took two examples from one like the bull's head, Egyptian bull's head, that was rotated to a triangle form, and also the letter E, how it was also rotated from a animal-like form, and was inconsistently it has this an impact in the next system of our system.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Sebastian. And now is Paula's turn. So Paula, please, dear Paula, start responding now.
I'm sorry. In the reading passage, we've been immersing into the topic of pictograph like a medium historian. And the pictograph is a historian tool for from thousand years. Likewise, in the listening passage, in the class, the teacher explained us the changes to do pictographs, like the form of and types of pictographs in the thousand years.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Paula. Thank you very much, dear Sebastian. Okay, there we are. So very good, very good. Both responses, I think, were very good. Sebastian, for example, I think that definitely the response is way more organized now. Very good. And Paula as well, I think that the response, especially the times with you, I like how you measure your time and you know at what point to stop and then to continue. I like that of you. Keep it out as well, okay? Before we continue with other one, I wanted to recommend you, I think that I didn't do it with you yesterday. So, for example, how can you improve your English for this both information sources? Or let me see if I sent it. Maybe I didn't. Oh yeah, I didn't. Yeah, of course. So, for example, as you have noticed, for this task, the third task, both information sources are about academic topics, right? Are about, in this case, we have been practicing with history, art, climate changes, that is to say, environmental science, stuff like that. So it's super varied, but it's always about academics, okay? It's always about something that can be taught in a university. Now, how can you practice that English? That is to say, how can you get familiarized, acquainted with the expressions that professors use, with the way that scientific articles, for example, are written? How can you familiarize with it? A very simple manner that I can recommend you is the following. I want to send you two links. The first one is this one. Let me show you. I have them here. This one is the first. Okay, here it is. And here it is as well in the WhatsApp group. So I'm going to open it, okay? And you're going to find that it's a website. It's called Science Daily. And it's a very good website. Why? Because if you go to the website, you're going to find that it contains a lot of scientific articles, all right? And these are actual scientific articles, that is to say, things that are actually true, that scientists are researching, investigating right now. And I also have, for example, the fact that you are capable of reading on a lot of subjects, okay? There is a huge variety here. Astronomy, for example, black holes, look at this. Fossil fuels, nanotechnology, physics, quantum physics, look at this, it's incredible. And what is also, of course, very good, for example, here you have medicine, right? Diseases, psychology, I don't know, Alzheimer's, a lot of things. This is free, okay? So you simply go to this website, you look for a category, And if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to find the articles here. For example, this one says, "Look, snails are not alone in causing rat lungworm disease in humans." Or for example, plants reprogram their cells to fight invaders. So for example, I click this one, and if you manage to see, this is a scientific article on what? On in this case, I think it's plants, right? That is to say, herbology. So as you can see, it's a lot of material, and this is an actual scientific article. Okay, so this is expressions, or these are the expressions, excuse me, that you are also going to find in this exam, especially for the reading item. Okay, so I want you to please get into this whenever you have free time. Okay, it's free, as I say. Read these articles in the discipline or area you're interested into, and practice and get familiarized with the way they are written. Okay, it's of course not necessary for you to learn anything. Okay, you don't have to memorize, for example, this Arabidopsis thaliana. Okay, not necessary, of course. The only thing that you have to do is to read and to get used to the way they are written. Okay, because when you read this, of course, on the exam, what is going to happen is that if you have practiced reading this type of material previously, you're going to be super relaxed and comfortable with the material. Okay, so that is my recommendation. And of course, here the sources are very good. For example, in this case, this article was provided by a Duke University professor, which is one of the best universities of the world, right? So all the material here, it has sources and information that have been drawn from very good and distinguished universities. Okay, so my recommendation for that. And also, if you want to improve in your listening of academic English as well, let me recommend you these other sources. I'm going to look for it. It's here. I sent it to this group the other day. Okay, here it is. Copy, and I send it to you. Okay, so here you have a channel that is called, let me show you. It is called MIT.
The following content is provided under a Creative Commons license.
It's called MIT Open Course Where. So what is this channel about? This is a channel created by MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, very renamed university. I think that you have, of course, listened about it. And in this channel, MIT uploads a lot of free classes on a lot of subjects that they teach. For example, this one is a class of mathematics. Look at this, for computer science.
Courseware continue to offer high quality.
Look at this.
Who can tell me what a proof is? Any ideas of what is a proof anyway? Any thoughts? Yeah.
It's a chain of statements, each logically supported by the previous ones, that gets you from a set of assumptions to a set of conclusions.
Very good. I like that.
Right? There you have. So it's a professor, an actual professor, right, of MIT, discussing something, asking, interacting with his students. So you're going to get used to the way the professors speak. And when you go to the TOEFL exam and you receive this, you're just going to be like in the normal set of things, right? Because you're going to be listening to this constantly. And there are a lot of videos, of course. It is not just mathematics or computer science, physics, chemistry. So please get into this. It's, of course, free. And you're going to be able to practice and improve in this particular area a lot. Okay, so those are my recommendations for you. All right, everything is already on the group. Wonderful. Let's continue. Let's go and let's go. Okay, here we are. Let's go with this one. Copy. And there you have it in the chat box. Okay, so now please start reading the passage now. All right, amazing. So let's get into the lecture on the decline of Greco-Roman ideals in art. Let's go.
Now listen to part of a lecture in a class focusing on the history of modern art.
Now, scholars sometimes like to say that in the 20th century, art based on Greco-Roman ideals of beauty and physical perfection fell totally out of favor thanks to the work of pioneering critics like Roger Fry. But today, I'm going to argue that this is actually an oversimplification. Now, paintings in the 20th century certainly became more abstract than at any other time in history. But in some ways, this had nothing to do with the work of professional critics, like Roger Fry. I mean, I think it can be convincingly argued that the change in style was simply due to the invention of the camera. See, it was no longer necessary to turn to professional portrait painters to have one's picture taken. And for this reason, there was a gradual decrease in the number of students who went to painting school. It was simply no longer important to spend years mastering technical painting. And instead, it became possible to produce highly abstract works meant to express, well, ideas. However, many of these ideas still had to do with the age-old Greco-Roman ideals. For example, Manet's painting, Luncheon on the Grass, which is sometimes called the first modern painting, it actually used images originally copied from an ancient Roman coffin. Pablo Picasso, a great abstract artist, also created several paintings reacting to Greek mythology. And, well, to this day, advertisers and filmmakers often turn to Greco-Roman notions of beauty in order to entice audiences. In fact, many modern artists have reacted to too much abstraction in modern art and are returning to classical Greek and Roman themes in their work. So, the Greco-Roman tradition in art is far from dead.
Using the points and examples from the lecture, explain how artistic standards changed in the 20th century.
There you are. Paola got out, I think, right? Okay, sad. Well, let's continue then. Please, Sebastian, enjoy this 30 seconds of preparation for a response, and then you're going to be able to deliver it, okay? So please start. Oh, Paola came back. Okay, what can we do? Okay. I think that she got out at this point. Okay, Paola, I know that you got out, so we're going to listen to the lecture from the point that I think you did not manage to listen. Okay, that I think it's the minute 1:15. So please, let's listen from this point, and you're going to be able to take your notes. Okay, please, Paola, let's go.
Abstract works meant to express, well, ideas. However, many of these ideas still had to do with the age-old Greco-Roman ideals. For example, Manet's painting, Luncheon on the Grass, which is sometimes called the first modern painting, it actually used images originally copied from an ancient Roman coffin. Pablo Picasso, a great abstract artist, also created several paintings reacting to Greek mythology. And, well, to this day, advertisers and filmmakers often turn to Greco-Roman notions of beauty in order to entice audiences. In fact, many modern artists have reacted to too much abstraction in modern art and are returning to classical Greek and Roman themes in their work. So, the Greco-Roman tradition in art is far from dead.
Using the points and examples from...
There we are. So now, please, both of you start preparing your response for this question now. Okay, wonderful. Now, please, Sebastian, you're going to start, okay? So have your microphone ready and start delivering your response now.
In the reading passage, we can learn how the art based in Greco-Romance ideals of beauty were influenced by the pinnacle of the critics of the century. This have in the 20 this have changed in the this has changed in the 28th century and shifted towards abstract inventions and art. So so we can learn from the reading passage, I mean from the listening passage, that that the invention of photography have shifted these standards of art. And but in any case, painters like Picasso and some modern filmmakers have recently stand by their old Greco-Roman based ideals.
Okay, thank you very much. Sebastian was very good response actually. Okay, so Paula, please, you're going to be the last one. And please prepare your microphone to respond and start doing it now.
Right. I'm sorry, teacher, but my internet is bad, so I couldn't read the passage. But the listening.
Okay.
So in the listening, we talk about paintings are compared like technologies. The Greco-Roman in the world is variations of pictures. This type of art has changed with the time, and for the evolution of technology.
Okay. Thank you very much, Paula. Very good summary of the listening item, by the way. Okay, thank you. Wonderful. So for Sebastian, I think this was a very good response as well. Okay, I think that you managed to apply all the recommendations that I gave you. And I think that, of course, this was a very difficult topic. Nonetheless, you managed it pretty well. Okay, so congratulations, Sebastian. I think that you managed the situation tremendously well. Okay, and Paula, don't worry. The internet comes back. It's a, let's say, very unfriendly enemy and supporter at the same time. Okay, but it doesn't matter. Wonderful. So I wanted to congratulate your students. I think that the practice have gone very well. And as I sent to the group, you have a lot of material to practice to continue learning and improving this part of the exam. Okay, so I'm going to stop the class here. And please, before you go, I'm going to take your assistance and help me, with the traditional poll that you always feeling positively. Help me a lot. Okay, so I'm going to launch the poll, and I'm also taking the assistance of you. So please say present when you listen to your name for the evidence. Okay, there we are. So is here present Cerruto Sebastián, Emilio? Thank you very much, Sebastián. And finally, Manzaneda, Paola?
Present, teacher.
Awesome, thank you very much, Paola. Okay, there we are. So thank you very much for your presence, dear students. I think that it was very good. And please enjoy the material that I sent to the group. Have a wonderful weekend and see you next week, okay? Thank you. See you later, bye-bye.
Teacher, goodbye.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.